Camera number 225 of 365 is the Nikon F75. Been going through these progressively, a series of cameras. They're very well constructed, although they may be predominantly plastic. They are certainly feature-rich cameras. Unusually, this camera actually rewinds or winds the film out when you put the cartridge, film cartridge into the camera. Notice the DX coding there. The film actually advances the film all the way out, and then as you take the photographs, it progressively winds it in. Unusual in that I think that's the first Nikon I've encountered to do that. They're typically, that's Canon ground, so that's an interesting feature that is different from perhaps some of the others. It does require batteries to operate the camera, so let's go ahead and put some batteries in the camera. So it's two CR2 batteries, and they go into the battery chamber there, and just close the door, again being careful with the plastic lip. And then we can turn the camera on with the on-off button. Now unfortunately this one has a liquid crystal display that is a little bit unreliable. It tends to come and go, and it's a little bit faded there, so that's obviously perhaps on its way out, but the camera seems to work okay, although initially I did have some issues. So starting on the right hand side here, just below the shutter actuation button, we have our exposure compensation button and a button that actuates the light. Don't know whether you can see that, probably can't in this light. And then we have self timer. This button also acts when it's in, I presume, manual mode as the aperture. You have to hold that down and rotate the dial for aperture. And also if that button is held in along with another button, not quite sure, there we go, the front button here, the bracket button, that will allow you to rewind your film. So there's a bracket button there, which again is used in conjunction with the dial. Going back to the top plate, we have the usual suspects: manual, aperture, shutter, program mode, auto mode. We have portrait, landscape, macro, sports, and nighttime portrait. Then around the collar we can choose a single release or continuous release, and then we have some custom functions which I didn't investigate, I must say. I don't know how many there are. Let's just see if we can find out. Looks like there's 12 custom functions that you can program in there. So that's again a very useful feature. While we're still here, we have auto exposure lock, we have a diopter, and then we can choose from auto focus mode, a single point, or a series of points around the camera. I believe it has 5 or 6 that we can choose from, and use the pad there to choose the focus point. And then turning to the front, we have our lens release. Oops. And then we have a button here, which I presume is the preview button. I don't know about that. I've not used it, unfortunately. So we mentioned bracketing set. We also have a flash button, and then a button to allow us to choose from autofocus or manual focus. So certainly, oh, and a light here to assist with focus. So as I mentioned, it certainly has a number of features. I certainly didn't cover them all in my brief time with it. And just a note regarding some of the lenses, you do have to be careful with some of these lenses that you use with this camera. It doesn't like all autofocus lenses. I found I used one that it didn't, I can't remember now, I think it was a 70 to 300. It really didn't like it, but it was quite happy with this 28 to 100mm AF Nikon. So do look at the manual regarding the lenses there. So that's a whistle-stop tour around the Nikon F75, And that has been camera number 225 of 365.